All right, here we go. Attorney Tom Mesereau, welcome back to VladTV.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
It was an honor when you sat down with us last time and, went into the various cases. Of course, the Michael Jackson case, the Suge Knight case, the Mike Tyson case. But the reason why you're here is because of your involvement in the Bill Cosby case. And just recently, Bill Cosby was freed after 3 years.
He's free. He cannot be retried. He cannot be re-prosecuted on these grounds. And that was a great announcement. I'm very, very happy for he and his family.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were very happy. I think overall, there's just a lot of celebration for Bill Cosby, which, you don't know was going to happen initially, but it seems like a lot of people are happy.
Well, the justice system finally prevailed. Unfortunately, he was put through 2 trials, some appeals, almost 3 years in prison, all of which should not have happened.
Yeah.
But eventually, the justice system saw the light and did the right thing. But he should not have been put through what he was put through, ever.
Right. So the reason why you're here today is because when it comes to this trial and it comes to our viewers, people hear tidbits, people hear this, people hear that. But I actually want to go through the entire case with you from the beginning to what ultimately happened. And as someone that worked on this case, I think you're very familiar with it.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and start in the very beginning. So in 2005, Andrea Constand, who was a staff member at Temple University, said that she had been drugged and molested at his home a year earlier, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So she ended up filing both criminal and civil charges against him?
Yes. She went to the prosecution, made a police report, and she also filed a civil suit at one point.
Okay. Is it typical for people to file both criminal and civil at the same time? Because I thought that usually you file the criminal first, and if you win that, you automatically win the civil.
There's no particular way to do it. You can do either one before the other if you want to. People make police reports all the time that don't result in civil cases. People file civil cases that don't result in police reports, and some people do both.
Okay. So she went ahead and filed this case, and 13 other women, 12 of whom remain anonymous, agreed to be witnesses who claimed to be familiar with similar accounts of sexual assault by Bill Cosby.
I won't comment on that. I'm not going to comment on any accusers, including Ms. Constand.
Okay.
I will comment on Bill Cosby, who I know.
Got it. Well, I'm just laying out the whole case, and you don't have to comment on it, but I just want everyone to know the extent of everything that happens. Okay. So in that case, he ended up doing a deposition.
In the civil case?
In the civil case.
Yes.
Got it. Now, that document originally was supposed to be sealed, and at one point, it got unsealed.
It was originally sealed by a federal judge, and at some point, the media made a request, and the federal judge decided to unseal it. That's correct.
Okay. Is that a typical thing to do?
Well, you say is it typical. I mean, no high-profile case involving a high-profile celebrity ever seems to be typical. Because forces and personalities and people seem to get involved in high-profile cases that you don't normally see in other cases. It's not unusual to seal a deposition. It's not unusual to seal evidence. There are privacy concerns. There are other concerns, governmental concerns about how it will be misused. And it was sealed by a federal judge, and then it was unsealed.
Okay. So that particular deposition was unsealed, and it was released publicly. I went ahead and read through it, and there was sort of some interesting stuff in that case. So in that case, he testified under oath that he had given a sedative to at least one other woman who appeared to be Miss Serignice and other people. And during the actual deposition, and I read both sides, the lawyer for Miss Constand said, when you got the Quaaludes, was it in your mind that you were going to use these Quaaludes for young women that you wanted to have sex with? Mr. Cosby said yes. But he also said that this was consensual for everyone that was involved. Okay, so when they asked if the women had known they were taking Quaaludes, Mr. Cosby's lawyer abruptly cut the questioning off, and Mr. Cosby suggested in his answers that the pill taking and the sex had been consensual. He said that he met the woman whose name was redacted in Las Vegas. She meets me backstage. I gave her Quaaludes. We then have sex. So the name of the woman was originally redacted, but based on court records and so forth, they're saying there was a woman named Miss Serignice. She said she couldn't comment because there's pending litigation, but she said there was nothing about the episode that was consensual. She only took the pills because Mr. Cosby was an authority figure and she felt frightened and compelled. So ultimately, the prosecutors declined to press charges, citing lack of evidence. But then Ms. Constand filed a civil case against the comedian. So this is where it kind of gets interesting. So at that point, the prosecutor was Bruce L. Castor Jr., right?
Yes.
And he said that he declined to actually charge Mr. Cosby over the matter. But Mr. Cosby actually sat for depositions in a separate lawsuit filed against him by Ms. Constand, which he ended up paying her $3.38 million in 2006. So there was an interview with Mr. Castor, the old prosecutor, about this. So who also is kind of funny enough, he's actually one of the defense lawyers for Donald Trump's second impeachment trial.
That's true.
Right. So they basically made a deal with each other. He made a deal that said that he would not prosecute because Bill Cosby would basically invoke his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, so he wouldn't have to testify in the upcoming civil case. And he did this in order to help the civil case.
Well, you'd have to look at Mr. Castor's comments. He's testified under oath that he assembled his team. His team included prosecutors from his office.
Mm-hmm.
It included 2 police departments, Cheltenham and Montgomery County. It included staffers, and they did an exhaustive investigation into the allegations. And he concluded that this case did not belong in a criminal courtroom. And he also concluded that, in his mind, the best form of justice would be to resolve this in a civil proceeding, not a criminal case. And what he says he did was make an agreement not to prosecute Mr. Cosby. The agreement was made by him and his office. There's been some discussion in this case as to whether Mr. Castor could bind the whole office. The reality is it was the office speaking, not just Mr. Castor. And the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has basically said the office made an agreement. He made an agreement that this case did not belong in a criminal courtroom, would not be in a criminal courtroom, and for that reason, Mr. Cosby had no right to assert his right against self-incrimination under the Fifth Amendment, and that Mr. Cosby, in reliance on that agreement not to prosecute, had to give a deposition. And that's exactly what happened.